everyone, and welcome to our panel. We are talking about NFTs today on this panel called NFT Flexing. What is driving the hype? I am joined by James Hakim and Sunil Singhvi. I'm going to let both of you introduce yourselves. There's so many credentials to your name. I don't want to mess it up. So I'm going to let both of you introduce yourselves, and then we can get into this chat. I'm really excited. So Sunil, let's start with you.
See, I thought you were going to go in alphabetical order and I was going to be at the end.
No, I like to just switch it up.
Hello, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sunil Singhvi. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer at Rarible. And I've been with the company about 4 months now. Before that, I've spent 10 years in big tech. In my previous role, I was at Instagram, which of course is now called Meta, or maybe Instagram from Meta, not entirely sure. And then before that, Twitter. And I started my career in talent management and broadcasting at the BBC.
And James?
Awesome. Hi, guys. I'm James Hakim. I'm the founder and CEO of Curate. We're a gasless NFT marketplace. And we're also the first peer-to-peer physical goods marketplace on chain. And we launched 3 months ago. And yeah, we're growing pretty fast. We're, I think, one of the fastest growing NFT marketplaces out there and the only gasless one. So yeah, that's who we are.
And now I see we have Paula joining us. Paula Petit, welcome. Welcome to the panel.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm Paula Petit. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Linum Labs. So we are a blockchain product development house. And so we do custom smart contracts, full stack design for our clients. This year has been the year of the NFT. So about 70% of our incoming clients we get are NFT based, and so we've built quite a bit in the marketplace space and around that. So I think I've gotten a good overall view of some of the things that have been happening. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Jensen. Asse. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and co-founder of Streambed Media. We are working to solve the rights issues with NFTs. I come from a journalism background. I was in Cape Town for 6 years at News 24, and now I'm with CoinDesk in New York and host a daily show on crypto and culture, and I have somehow became the NFT queen on that show. So here we are to talk about NFTs for the next 40 minutes. I'm really excited. I think we need to start off with the most newsworthy content, though, and that is Meta. Sunil, I know you come from that background. Facebook getting into the metaverse and NFTs, I think for a mainstream audience is really interesting and maybe hard to wrap their heads around. So tell me about this news. Maybe you can give us some insight. I don't know what kind of NDAs you've signed, but what does it tell you when we hear about Facebook getting into the metaverse and NFTs?
Jen, that makes 2 of us. I don't know what NDAs I've signed either. I'll give you my broad view, and I'll give you my broad view on the caveat that actually I wasn't part of any of the conversations around Meta, apart from seeing the stuff that you've all seen in the press. So my knowledge is more broad. I think there couldn't be any better news. Like, I look at this piece of news and think, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, you're talking about billions of users. And the ability for those audiences to be educated at scale as to what the possibilities are in this space is such good news for all of us. Because I think probably Paula and James will say the same. One of the biggest barriers is bringing new people into the space. So people that are in the space, once you are in it and you understand it, become evangelists straight away. Once you have seen the light, it's impossible to go back to a simpler time where you just thought about, buying your piece of art from a gallery. Like, that doesn't make sense anymore. You're like, but wait, I'm not buying it from the creator. Wait, well, there's all the kinds of strange things. So Facebook or Meta as a business now, their decision to embrace this Web 3.0 movement is incredibly, incredibly exciting. And I think what they will do is open the doors, and what it will give us the opportunity to do is show how we can do it better.
That's really interesting. Paula, I want to get your take on this. So Facebook has had its ups and downs, right? They've really been a key player in Web 2, but they've also created these walled gardens. And Web 3 is all about openness and decentralization. And do you think what do you think when you hear about Web 2 players getting into the NFT space, getting into this decentralized space?
We all have definitely our opinions on Facebook. As Sunil said, it is very exciting they're getting into it in the sense that it does bring it to the masses and it does open this up, just like many other large retail players in the space are starting to get into the Web3 and NFTs and everything that this entails. It will be a matter of making sure that they, do it both kind of ethically and, within the bounds of what DeFi and Web3 and everything that it stands for, because it could be very exciting, but the last thing we want to do is use these new technologies and just repeat what we're already doing on the Web2 space and somehow create decentralized tools, but then make it under another centralized firm again. So I think it'll be very to see, and we might have to keep them accountable a little bit, us who know a little bit more in the space. But it is exciting having bigger players come in because that's how we are going to get masses in.
Yeah, I 100% agree. James, I have a two-part question for you. First one, in January of 2021, if I were to tell you that we would be sitting here and having this discussion, given what's happened in NFTs over the year, what would you have said?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't believe you. I mean, no surprises. I'd say there's no way NFTs will explode so fast in growth, in adoption, and transcend to so many different industries. Outside of crypto, I would have had a hard time believing you, Jennifer. I would have been like, and I'm sure the other guys would agree, Sonia and Paula, just because the growth was so kind of unexpected. It just came out of nowhere. And one of the things we did, especially at Curate, was that we rushed to build the NFT marketplace before a physical goods marketplace, which was our initial objective. But if you said that to me back in Jan 21, I would have said it's not going to happen.
Why do you think this is the second part? Why do you think that it has happened? Why do you think that we've accelerated so quickly in this space over the last year?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I would say it's the natural evolution in where we're going. So we're kind of coming out of that DeFi phase, and there's been a lot of talk around NFT utility, and I kind of see NFTs being kind of the early signs or the early precursors to how Bitcoin grew so fast and Ethereum, especially with the larger collections in NFTs, especially with utility. And I think it was kind of a gold rush initially, and now it's starting to settle in. Now some of the infrastructure is starting to build around it. With Facebook, as you mentioned, going into that kind of area of metaverses and eventually NFTs, it's going to establish the grounds, bring some of the boomers in, like my dad or my parents who still use Facebook. I think overall it's a good thing with what Facebook are doing. I think it's a smart decision. Despite all the memes on Mark Zuckerberg, I think he's a genius in his own right. That's what I would probably say as to why we've grown so fast.
Yeah, I just want to tack on to that. I think off of what James said, in January, I don't think we could have even mildly anticipated how big the NFT space would become. That's when it just really started kind of taking off a little bit, and it hasn't stopped since. I'd say, some of the first things were, the pandemic pushed everybody home and everybody was suddenly way more digital. That gave crypto in general a place to start growing in. But then, I think it moved into the art area because a lot of galleries and things like that. And people in that kind of space didn't have those venues anymore. So they kind of shifted a little bit into this new NFT area. And then you had some huge ticket sales that happened very, very early on, such as Beeple's sale and a couple of those others that obviously that did attract the hype. And you had NBA Top Shots performing, super well in the beginning for such a big name, NBA. So that definitely brought in that initial hype. But what has been very cool to see was that it was not a 2-month hype cycle or 3-month hype cycle, that it has stuck around and it has continued to mature and build much more infrastructure behind it. And that we're going to see actual, we're already seeing utility come out of it, but that it's going to keep going from here. So I think that was big triggers.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who are just hearing about NFTs now and are still trying to wrap their heads around it, they've really latched on to that hype, right? And so, Sunil, I want to talk about the last time we had this hype and excitement and craze, and it seemed like everything was just increasing in value, and that was in 2017. And so how do you think about NFTs in 2021, and does that compare to the ICO craze in 2017?
I think there are a lot of comparisons. And I think there is a lot of parallels and a lot of learnings to be done. The number one learning for me is we're letting people outside of our space tell our story. And that, to me, is one of the biggest challenges that we have as a group of people that are knowledgeable, passionate, informed about this. What happens is people sell for a huge amount of money, and we let the mainstream media tell that story. And what I think the mistake is for all of us is allowing that to continue. So I would encourage anyone that's going out with their stories about what they're doing in this space to not lead with the money, but to lead with the creative, to lead with the artists and the community building. When I joined Rarible, the first thing that caught my eye is that actually the business cared about creators, and that we put things on the development slate related to what do artists need. So one of the things which James will be familiar with is we've brought in lazy minting. Over the last few months, we've added lazy minting, which is hugely, hugely important to a set of artists that wouldn't be able to get involved in the NFT craze if they didn't have that tool. If the barrier to entry was thousands of dollars for your collection and then minting costs on the back of it, it's very hard to get started. So we want to make sure that there is an opportunity there. And so Rarible really prioritize that. So when we talk about this sort of like what's happening at the moment, 2021 growing, the thing that I think has been really, really exciting for me is when you are in Discord and you see those groups lighting up like Christmas trees. And with that, I feel much less concerned about a bubble than I have been at other points in other moments. Because I've seen lots of other fads come and go in technology, but they were never backed by communities. They were never filled with ravenous groups of people who were desperate for information and desperate for connection. And actually, I think that's what we've done. We've created an entire ecosystem which is based on community, acceptance, culture. And those three things are never bubbles. Those three things are always sort of core to human experience. So being able to find those things in an NFT environment will only secure us as we go forward. So the numbers are big. The numbers may come down. The numbers may go back up, they may double, they may halve. But I think the reality is now more than ever before, we've got a set of people that found connection. And once you do that, that's when you really solidify an industry.
Yeah, I really like that. NFTs are 100%, I think, about a connection and community. And that narrative often gets lost in the mainstream media when we're talking about these massive sales and these massive numbers. So I love that you brought that up, Sunil. So we're talking about the creator economy, right? And we're talking about making NFTs easily accessible to creators, especially after the last 2 years. They've had to look for different ways to monetize and connect and publish their content. Paula and James, I'm going to let you pick who answers this, or both of you can take it. So you let me know who wants to go first. But how do we continue to break down barriers? Because I think there are still a lot of barriers to getting a lot of creators on board with NFTs.
It's a really good question. Paula, I'll open the floor to you, ladies first.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of the same barriers that we as a crypto community as a whole still have. Some of these UI UX barriers, some of just the understanding, what is a wallet, what is your seed phrase and your address and everything. Those are still pretty decent barriers just in general. I think we are seeing quite a bit of improvement as far as some of these things, but I think there is still a ways to go, plus education on it, because there's still a very large percentage of the world that would be very that is intimidated by kind of some of these setups. So I think it is that, but we are seeing more and more kind of tech partners partner closely with these artists. And, the artists are interested, the tech partners know they need them. So a lot of our clients, they're usually like the tech partners, and they partner with their artists and, sell them, inform them, educate them on the NFT crypto space, because I'm sure they've already heard of it, and, bring them on. So I think it is a lot of education still, and making it just not that intimidating. That's my take.
It's really interesting you touched on that. I mean, one thing we're doing at Curate is we have a saying, which is making crypto simple. And our focus has always been around artists who are new to crypto, so who don't quite understand what an NFT is, how blockchain works. So with Curate, we actually provide a gasless marketplace where artists, or even first-time artists to crypto, can actually mint an NFT on the Ethereum blockchain, completely gasless. So there's no gas fees to pay. So at Curate, we've saved over $3 million in gas fees whilst being carbon neutral. So artists feel empowered because not only are we sort of not impacting the environment, but they're also saving money. So the barrier to entry to explore this concept of NFTs with this, 2 trillion liquidity in the marketplace. I mean, I think it's just going to make it much easier for artists to give it a try. So, I think you've lost me there.
Yeah, James, it's interesting you brought up gas fees, because we have a question in our Q&A section, and they say, as an NFT collector, gas fees are a major letdown for noobs. Oh, can you hear us, James? Okay, I'm going to let James.
I'll let you carry on, Jennifer, while my team reset.
All right. So they say gas fees are a major letdown for noobs. Minting on Polygon is a huge game changer. Now, Sunil, I need to ask you, because the first NFT I ever minted was on Rarible, and the gas fees were through the roof. It was insane. So how do we start to think about gas fees? What is Rarible doing to I think that's a barrier. What is Rarible doing to address that so that more people can enter the space without having to spend so much money on gas?
So from a creation point of view, we've added lazy minting, which I think is going to be hugely important. We are also looking at how we think about other blockchains and how we make sure that we are a cross-chain platform. So this week we announced Tezos, and that integration coming. It's already on the Rarible protocol, which is our open API to allow you to build your own NFT strategies and solutions. But we think that's hugely important. And at the moment, exactly to that point, the gas fees are very hard, and they're hard two ways, right? They're hard financially, and they're also hard for new entrants to the market to understand. Mm-hmm. So when I get to the counter, it's a different price. But why is it a different price? Especially at low cost NFTs, to get a big sort of gas fee bump, which is sometimes potentially more than the item, is a very sort of strange experience. Having said that, I speak to a huge raft of people all day, every day, that are entering the space, who all want to be on Ethereum. They're all very keen to be in that space because it offers the biggest and most advantageous secondary market. So I think there's a job to do for Ethereum. I think there's a job to do for all the marketplaces out there to find ways to help facilitate that journey and help make it as easy as possible. But from a Rarible point of view, lazy minting is key, but also adding other chains like Tezos and Polygon to make sure that we can support, sort of more financially viable and cheaper options.
So, Neil, can you just explain what lazy minting is?
So lazy minting is basically you upload your NFT, your title, your description, your artwork, your audio file, your JPEG, MP4, whatever it is, and it doesn't actually become an NFT until it's sold. So what happens is it enters the Rarible website and it exists there, and then when it is sold, the person buying it pays for the minting, to be honest. Like, that's how it works. They create it as an NFT at that point. So before, it's probably really a concept, and then when it's sold, it becomes an NFT. And I think that's important two ways. One, it means that you don't incur a cost up front. So if your piece perhaps doesn't sell, you don't incur that cost. And secondly, that we actually don't end up in a position where lots and lots of NFTs are created with no market and no demand. Because actually, if you, in theory, had lots of money or lots of Ethereum in your wallet and you wanted to create 50 NFTs of my face, you could do, but there would be no buyers for them. So it would be of a waste. So instead, I think it's important that we go where demand is. So lazy minting in that sense gives you a chance to come up with your concept, market it to people and see if there's an audience there. And once it is sold, then it becomes the NFT.
I think people would buy an NFT of your face, Sunil.
Well, I've got 10,000 of them. If you want me to shill for them right now, there's a PFP project of just my face.
Yeah. I just wanted to tack on to that. As Sunil said, Ethereum does have the biggest community, and it's still not to be ignored when, new creators and people are coming into the space. You want to be on Ethereum most of the time, but then it comes down to are your customers and are the people you're trying to target, are they willing to pay $100 plus for your NFT? And also, what is the price range of your NFT? Are they going to be paying more to mint it than the NFT might originally be worth? So that's consistently an issue for everyone that we've spoken to. And that's when it comes into weighing the pros and cons. Polygon has come out as a very popular secondary one. They've been doing quite a bit of pushes as far as building out their NFT specific ecosystem. So they have lots of grants that they're putting out there, getting big names on them. So I could see them building out their ecosystem. There's some other ones, Mutable X is around the corner. There's a couple other ones that are also quite strong too. But Ethereum is king, but can we afford to build them all on it? We'll see.
Yeah, just to add on. Yeah, just to add on to that, and I think what Sunil and Paula have just nailed it, really. I mean, talking about cross-chain, talking about Ethereum being the most popular chain for NFTs. I mean, I think really the next evolution is going to be in sort of, cross-chain, opening up to cross-liquidity. Obviously, the gasless part is very important. So ETH 2.0 hopefully can fix that. If not, there's always obviously curates and obviously lazy minting at Rarible. But I think also going further from that, it's going to be places which is cross marketplace integrations. So perhaps, Variable, Curate, OpenSea kind of integrating together to provide a platform to reach out to all of the centralized users and decentralized users. Quite a lot is going on in this space. I know a lot of projects are building, including Variable. And it's really exciting times to be an artist, really, because you're going to have so much access to new buyers, to first-time buyers, to liquidity, collateralization, hard to pronounce that, where you can actually offset your NFT for a loan. So, really cool time to be around, and I could just see it getting bigger, this space.
Yeah, we spoke at the beginning of this panel about owning your own narrative and breaking down barriers. And we're all talking about the ways that NFT platforms are becoming simpler for creators to use, but I don't think that those ways are being discussed in a mainstream audience. We're really speaking about it to a crypto native audience. The people we're talking about it, the people who are probably watching this, they already have a little bit of knowledge about how it works. How do we get this education and information out to the people who can benefit the most? And that's the mainstream. And I almost come back to, is it by getting players like Facebook into the game, or is it by taking being influenced by what Coinbase is doing, and they've created their own media outlet where they can push news out to people and push emails out and get that education out there. What do you guys think? How do we get more education to the people who need it?
If anyone minds, I'll jump in here first. I think the answer is, Jennifer, honestly, everything. I think there is, anyone that says this is the way that we're going to educate the world, there isn't one way. It's about what the touch point is. There is a huge bunch of people whose first NFT will be via Top Shot. And if we fast forward 3 years, and 3 years I know is an unbelievably long length of time, there will be a bunch of people whose first NFT came via Meta and Facebook's suite of products. I think it's going to take them 3 years. So I think it's that education pieces across the board. And one of the things that I've been really keen on in my role at Rarible is that we work with a whole bunch of people that are what we would consider mainstream entities. So we've just finished a big project with French Montana and his product, the Coke Boys, which is his sneaker range. And it was fascinating to talk to them and their team. They gave a prediction. Their prediction was, of French's 7.3 million followers on Instagram, they believe 0.001 are crypto aware. And then after that, they have to be crypto ready in terms of actually have funds. And then French and the Coke Boys have to create a product that they want. So their whole view was, actually, we're talking to an absolutely tiny segment of our audience. But what we want to do is talk to all 7.3 million about what the opportunity is, what they could get involved in, how they could be part of it. And actually, they did a great job of educating. You know, French Montana's Instagram stories were full of, here's how to get a wallet. Here is how you put ETH in your wallet. And here is, by the way, if you don't have ETH and you don't really want to get any, here's how you pay with your Visa or MasterCard on Rarible. And it's working with projects like that that I think are so important, because all of a sudden we've got a huge chunk of audience that didn't know they could be interested, now have the foundation knowledge, and maybe they picked up on it, maybe they didn't. But it becomes that thing where next time they hear wallet, they're like, I know that I need a wallet. I should get a wallet. Where should I get a wallet from? Oh, I've heard of MetaMask. Oh, I've heard of Taurus. Those are ones that I can trust. So I think the education piece, and I think, you know, what Coinbase is doing is absolutely brilliant and very, very smart, but still lends itself to crypto aware and financially aware audiences. How do we get the same thing to come from a Vice or a BuzzFeed? How do we get more mainstream partners like the NBA to get people their first NFT? I say this probably 10 times a day. The road to your first NFT is very, very long. In my case, 41 years. The road to your second one is very, very short. So if we can get people in for their first one, the gap to them buying a second one or third one, which we see all the time on Raribles, that people come, they buy their first one, and then the gap to getting a second one is actually really small. Because now they're in it, they've conquered the barriers of, I know what a wallet is, I know what gas fees are, I know what Ethereum is, I'm in a bidding war to win this auction, I've won the auction, woohoo, let me show people what I've won. I think all of that stuff is really quick after that initial bit of learning. So the short answer to your question is we need everyone's help, and we need everyone to repeat the same messaging. This is not hard. This is much, much simpler than setting up your Alexa. You just need to be willing to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Sunil said. I mean, it's a community effort. Everyone needs to get involved. And even going one step further, I believe even institutions like our school systems need to be updated to really reflect on what's going on now. I do feel in 10 years' time, the national curriculum across a number of countries, especially in the West, will be reflected to discuss about blockchain and crypto, DeFi. It's going to be that's more of a longer term effort, but I do feel everyone needs to get involved, including institutions and governments, to really take this mainstream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Suni and James covered it basically, but it's just making it obvious. Like, you know, not everybody's going to fall down the rabbit hole. I mean, we would love to assume that they will, but they're not going to see like one article and like go into it. It needs to be just everywhere. It just needs to be kind of obvious, second nature. So yeah, Coinbase is great because it's the mainstream of the crypto world. But yeah, you do need it a level higher, like the BuzzFeeds, and the other areas, and the big players talking about it, and the French Montanas of the world.
Why do we need so many NFT marketplaces? I feel like every day we're hearing about a new one, and we're talking about this education piece. So it's like now, like, where do I go? And so I would love to hear your thoughts on the future of NFT marketplaces. Like, it feels like it's becoming, it has not become yet, but it is on its way to becoming a saturated market. James, I'll start with you.
You know what? That's a really good question. And yeah, I'll be completely honest. The more people building NFT marketplaces, I feel that you could argue that it's, we're sort of diluting the places to sell, and it's going to make it harder really for, buyers and sellers to connect, because there's so many marketplaces. There's, the community spread out over like 520 marketplaces. The crypto community, although we feel like, it's growing and we're big, we're really not, in the grand scheme of things. Just like Sunil mentioned earlier, that 0.001% of, say, French Montana's followers. It's tiny, those who are crypto aware and crypto ready. But saying that, I mean, before we started Curate, so we've been around for 4 months now. So we're kind of, I'd say, probably one of the newest ones on the scene, probably one of the fastest growing, but that's another story. But I'd say what really pushed us forward really was listening to the community, like the artists, the community, finding out what's wrong at other marketplaces. Not to talk about, OpenSea and insider trading. That's a discussion for another day. But really providing, sort of filling out the gaps in the market. And so, for example, gas fees was a major thing. And we said to ourselves, okay, we're going to spend time researching how we can bring gas fees down to zero. And we managed to do that, not just through lazy minting, through other ways as well. So you can mint on Ethereum, completely gasless. You can bid, you can win an auction, and there's no gas fees. And the fees are tiny. Our commission model goes all the way down to less than 2.5%, so less than OpenSea. So there's a lot of incentives for new marketplaces to actually enter the scene and sort of tackle some of the problems you find in the bigger marketplaces. And what led me to that was actually I discovered a new physical goods marketplace called Shpock. And they're very similar to Facebook Marketplace and eBay, except they're completely peer-to-peer. They're completely localized, so you can find buyer and sellers in your own city, in your own neighborhood. And the best thing is that the actual company was so hands-on with the onboarding, with kind of the teething problems, any disputes or any complaints. And I kind of wanted to provide that whole, kind of the same thing they did, but with NFT marketplaces. So yeah, we are gasless. We do have a physical goods marketplace, so you can buy and sell like gaming, electronics, fashion. In fact, that's why we sell a lot of our merchandise on there. But I'd say there will probably be an upper limit where, say, we have like 100 of these marketplaces. It will get saturated. It will get confusing. But then I do feel the top 3 to top 5 will really then shine out even further. I'm happy to say Rarible is doing an amazing job. So Sunil, keep killing it. You guys, yeah, seriously. But I feel right now it's not too much of an issue, just because these marketplaces are kind of filling gaps and filling these niches. But I feel eventually the top 3, top 5 will survive, and sadly the others will kind of disappear. But that's just my take on it.
I just want to follow up on that one, if it's okay, because I handle the incoming leads often for our company, and every other day we get someone who does want to build an NFT marketplace. So it is one of our most popular builds that we do. In the beginning, earlier in January, piggybacking off the top of off the success of NBA Top Shot, a lot of the marketplaces, when they first came out, they just wanted to be their own closed marketplace where things just happened on there. As the year has continued to evolve, and OpenSea and Rarible and these big big marketplaces has come to fruition, it hasn't stopped the new marketplace inquiries and our old clients still wanting things, but it has led them to go less NBA Top Shot and more, let's make it open and integratable with everyone else so it can move around quite easily. What I've seen as the main reason that they've decided to create their own marketplace versus just go in and mint on OpenSea or Rarible or one of these larger ones is because they're trying to curate their community around it. So, one of our big clients, their target market is Spanish YouTubers. So they want to target their whole, marketplace specifically around, the Spanish YouTubers and a couple others that I can't speak about yet. They want to curate it around stories and create a really richer experience for their users and their target market, to feel like they're engaging with it. But of course, they can then buy the NFT and go sell it on OpenSea. So the main reason I've seen people still wanting these marketplaces is for their niche community. How that continues to evolve, we will see, but that's what I've seen.
I think I might have a slightly different take, which is I think we need all of them.
Okay.
Every day a new marketplace crops up, I'm excited because you know what? We probably don't have Spanish YouTubers in our site. So actually, if they're going to go and win over that section of audience, wider proposition, I'm excited. I think every marketplace has a job to do to fuel everything that's going on. I similarly, as all of you do, see every day another marketplace. I am very much of the opinion every marketplace helps us. And it helps us in two ways. Number one, we need more entrants. If this industry is the same volume in 3 years' time, and it's just the same people trading, we've all failed spectacularly. What we need is new entrants. New entrants, whether they come via a marketplace, whether they come via Topshop, whether they come because they've got an education piece in the New York Times, whatever way they come in, I will welcome them in. Secondly, nothing drives innovation like competition. If you are sitting at the top of the tree today and you think, I will always be at the top of the tree by just being previously number one, you are crazy. And every day, we should be striving as a community, as an industry, as the forefront of culture to be better than we were yesterday. So I think I am very keen to see new entrants into the marketplace. I'm keen to see what they do right. I'm keen to see what they do wrong. But if we fear each other, we will still be the same size. And I tell you what, there's a new streetwear company that pops up every day, every single day. The strong survive. The weaker ones will soon fizzle out. So I am here for the challenge, here for the excitement, and here to be part of an industry that wants to grow at lightning speed.
Beautifully said.
All right. Yeah. Speaking of fear, Sunil, I think we need to at least touch on this once. Are regulators coming for the NFT space, or what should marketplaces and people who are thinking about getting into the NFT space be aware of when it comes to regulation?
Regulation, for the most part, is about one of two things. It's about whether you are trading with something that the larger authorities, the old school, the old gatekeepers are concerned about, or you are acting in a non-transparent, deceptive way. Those are the two things that regulation is all about. Is something happening that is not for the greater good? Is something that is not good happening? And we need to bear that in mind. And as such, and I say this having lived my time at Facebook, you shouldn't fear regulation. You should fear bad practice. And actually, if the regulators come, which, by the way, we're talking about trillions of dollars. So are regulators coming? Yes. That's a reality. Once you start using any word that begins with T for trillion, regulators are going to come at some stage. The challenge for the industry and the work that we do is to be transparent, is to be on top of what you're doing, and is to welcome regulation as a way to carve out scam and deception and non-transparency. Because I tell you what, that is also something that limits our industry. If people don't trust it, they will not come. So can we use regulatory powers to build trust and dependency? I think there is a real chance that we get this wrong as an industry by fearing what could help us. If the objective is to go, we want more people in our world, how do we build trust? How do we build safeguards so that there isn't things that happen that give people a bad feeling or a bad energy or a bad vibe? How do we remove that uncertainty of, wait, where does that go? And does it go to the right people? And it's great that I've set off this carbon neutral thing, but is it effective? Is it really going where I think it's going? Is it actually greenwashing, or is it actually like an appropriate carbon offset? So fear of regulation is basically like that feeling you get when you haven't done your homework on a Sunday night. I understand it. I completely get it. I've been there. But if you fear people asking, are you doing the right things? You're probably not doing the right things.
I think that was so well. I think that was
Wow.
so well put. James, I'm going to give it to you for the last comment, and then we'll do one more round because we have got to wrap it up.
I was just gonna congratulate Sunil on such a well polished speech. I mean, that was flawless. He nailed it. I mean, yeah, honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. But just to echo that, I mean, yeah, but I think we do need regulation to kind of take up the bad actors, take up the scammers, to safeguard our buyers and our sellers, our community, ourselves. We're obviously all crypto holders. And yeah, if we can fizzle out the bad actors, bring in some regulation, some accountability, I think it's for the greater good. So I personally welcome it, and so does everyone at Curate. So yeah, Paula, I'll hand it to you if you wanted to say something.
I know we're running on time, so I know she wants to jump. I agree generally, so I'm going to leave it there. I had a small speech, but I'll leave it.
No, tell us. You quickly tell us, and then we'll do one more quick round, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for making this go over.
Yeah, no, I do agree with it. I feel like I've been in this space for four years now. Earlier on, you had a lot of, us against the regulators, us against the banks. Bitcoin's going to take the banks down. And I always felt that like a portion of the maturity of this space was to work together. We're not going to take them down over here, a small like little tribe, take down governments around the world. So I do believe in collaboration. So I think I'm going to leave it there. There was a little bit more, but I will leave it there for time's sake. But I think we can work together, and by working with these regulators, we can make more protections as well. That will make it less scary, as Sunil said, because the regulators might be understanding and understand what's going on. So if things happen badly in the space, maybe our users and our customers might be a bit more protected or feel more protected. So we'll see.
Awesome. Well, we got to wrap it there. James, Paula, Sunil, it was so wonderful spending my morning with you. I know we're all in different time zones, but I love talking about NFTs. I think you're all doing great things in the space, and I can't wait to see how we all continue to evolve. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, Jennifer. Thanks, guys, for your time. All the best.